I stayed quiet for 6 years. Then I found out her secret. My name is Brooke. I am 24 years old, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and 3 years ago I did something that permanently changed my relationship with my father, destroyed my stepmother's carefully constructed image, and gave me back something that was taken from me when I was 17 years old. Some people who have heard this story say I went too far. Some people say I did not go far enough. I have thought about it almost every day since it happened and my position has never changed. I did exactly what needed to be done. Let me start at the beginning. My mother passed away when I was 11 years old. Breast cancer, diagnosed late, gone within 14 months of diagnosis. She was 39 years old. And she was the warmest person I have ever known, and not a single day goes by that I do not think about her. My father was devastated. We both were. For 2 years it was just the two of us, and in some ways those 2 years were the closest we have ever been. Just a grieving father and his grieving daughter figuring out how to keep going. When I was 13 my father met a woman named Linda. Linda was 38, recently divorced, with no children of her own. She was polished and pretty and said all the right things, and my father was lonely and hopeful, and fell for her completely within about 6 months. They got married when I was 14. I was a bridesmaid at a wedding where I smiled in every photograph and cried in the bathroom twice. I want to be fair to Linda because I have spent a lot of time thinking about whether I ever gave her a real chance. The honest answer is that I tried. For the first year I really tried. I followed her house rules. I was polite at dinner. I did not make comparisons out loud even when they were screaming in my head. But Linda had a very specific idea of what she wanted her life to look like, and I was not really part of that picture. She was not cruel to me in obvious ways. She was cold. She was consistently, quietly, exhaustingly cold. She forgot things that mattered. My school events, my birthday once when I was 15 which she later said was an accident, conversations I had told her were important to me. She remembered everything that mattered to her with perfect precision. The dynamic that developed in our house was one I have since learned has a name. My father became a man caught between two people he loved, and he dealt with that by choosing peace over honesty at every single turn. When Linda and I had conflicts he mediated. When I came to him privately with concerns about how Linda treated me he listened carefully, and then did nothing. I learned fairly quickly that my father's love for me was real, but that his willingness to protect me from Linda had a very clear limit. Now let me tell you about the college fund. When my mother was alive she and my father had started a college savings account for me. By the time she passed away there was approximately $40,000 in that account. My father continued contributing to it after she died, because he said it was something my mother had cared about, and he wanted to honor that. By the time I was 17 the account had grown to just over $67,000. I knew about this account. My mother had told me about it when I was 9. She sat me down and explained that she and my dad were saving money, so that I could go to any college I wanted without worrying. I had held on to that promise for 8 years. The summer before my senior year of high school my father had a health scare, a serious one. He was hospitalized for 2 weeks with a cardiac episode. He recovered fully but those 2 weeks were terrifying. He was in the hospital, I was 17, and Linda was managing everything at home including access to all of their joint accounts. I found out what happened to my college fund 6 months later, when I sat down with my father to start talking about applications and finances. He pulled up the account. The balance was $4,200. $63,000 was gone. My father looked at the screen for a very long time without speaking. Then he called Linda into the room, and asked her what had happened. Linda said that while he was in the hospital there had been some financial pressures. She mentioned some vague things about bills, and an investment that had not worked out. And that she had made some decisions she thought were necessary at the time. She said she had planned to tell him. She said she was sorry. She said she would make it right. She never made it right. I went to a state school on loans. I graduated with $41,000 in student debt for a fund my mother had started when I was 9 years old. Every single loan payment I made in my early 20s was something my mother had already paid, and that Linda had taken. For years I was angry but I stayed quiet because my father asked me to. Because he said the marriage was complicated. Because he said Linda had promised to pay it back. Because he said he did not want to lose another family. I swallowed it. I built my life. I got a job, I made my payments, I kept my distance from Linda and visited my father on holidays and tried to have some version of a relationship with him, even though there was this enormous thing sitting between us that we never talked about. Then 2 years ago I found out something about Linda. I found out completely by accident through a mutual connection. A woman who had gone to college with Linda, and who mentioned something casually at a gathering that clearly was not meant to be casually mentioned. Linda had not actually been divorced when she met my father. Her first marriage had not ended before she and my father started dating. The timeline overlapped by almost 8 months. Linda had been seeing my father, while still legally married to her first husband. I sat with this information for 3 weeks. I verified it. Not because I needed to for my own certainty, but because I wanted to be completely sure before I did anything. Public records, dates, a marriage certificate and a divorce finalization date that told a very clear story. Then I made a decision. I did not go to Linda. I did not confront her privately or give her an opportunity to explain or spin the story. I went to my father. I sat down with him at his kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon when Linda was out, and I put everything in front of him. The timeline, the dates, the documents. I told him what I had found and I told him that I was not going to keep this secret the way I had kept quiet about my college fund for 6 years. I told him he deserved to know the truth about the woman he had married. My father was quiet for a very long time. He did not get angry at me. He did not defend Linda immediately. He sat there and he looked at the documents and he asked me 2 questions. Was I certain, and why was I telling him now? I said yes I was certain. And I told him that I was telling him now because I was tired of being the only one in our family who was expected to absorb things quietly and move on. My mother saved $40,000 for my future. Linda spent it. And then she got to keep her perfect life while I paid off loans every month for an education that should have been paid for twice over. My father confronted Linda that evening. I was not there for that conversation. What I know is that Linda did not deny the timeline when presented with the documents. She had a version of events that she felt explained it. They had been separated. The divorce just took time to finalize. She had not thought it mattered. My father did not find this satisfying. Linda and my father are still married. I want to be clear about that because this story does not have a clean ending where she gets kicked out and justice is perfectly served. They went to counseling. They are working through it. My father has told me that he loves her and that their marriage is complicated, but that he is not ready to end it. What has changed is that my father finally acknowledged what happened to my college fund. Not with a check. I am not holding my breath for that, but with words clearly and directly, in a conversation where he said what Linda did to your college fund was wrong and I should have fought harder for you. That sentence took 6 years to arrive. It is not enough, but it is something. Linda does not speak to me now. I am fine with that. My father and I are slowly rebuilding something that has been broken for a long time. It is not easy, but it is more honest than anything we have had in years. People say I should have confronted Linda directly. People say I was wrong to go to my father without warning her first. People say I was just trying to blow up her marriage out of revenge for the college fund. Maybe there is some truth to that last one. I am human and I had been angry for 6 years. But I also genuinely believe my father had a right to know the truth about his own marriage. And I believe that protecting someone who took $63,000 from a grieving teenager is not something I was willing to do anymore. So Reddit. AITA for exposing my stepmother's secret after she spent my college fund? Or did she make her own bet a long time ago? Tell me your verdict.